Okay, it looks like I'm recording. I hope I'm recording. I'm recording. Okay. This keeps falling asleep. All right, so this is Brian. We're going to set up a new perspective, starting with kind of a new bigger cube so that we can, today I want to take that cube and turn it into like, if you remember on your, the little paper cubes that you had, one side had four circles on it. So we're going to do something kind of like that and make it into like a little 4 pack of cans. um, and so let's set this up again. And the reason I mentioned I wanted to start over again is because some people missed a couple key components. So I'm going to do this. Either the base square wasn't quite square, or the perspective points were not in the right place. So notice I'm zooming way out because I'm going to put my, the first thing I'm going to do is establish my, my drawing guide. So I'm going to turn on the drawing guides. And once I get in there, I'm going to go over to perspective, and I'm going to zoom out again because what I want is my points to be way outside of my canvas. And some of you guys have your points in the canvas. Now, when I put the first point off to the right, it sets up a straight horizon line, which is nice. But as soon as I click the second point, I can tip the horizon line. So just try to be careful and follow along that line somewhere. And about the same distance on the, come on, no, it's not doing it. Perspective. Why is this not working? There it goes. So something kind of like this. And if you remember, if you think of the white paper, if you kind of took half of the width of it, that's about how far out the perspective points roughly. I'm doing a super short change kind of way to do this. It just makes it a lot faster to set up. There's a very elaborate and long, lengthy process, but this is the short way to do it. All right, so I just have 2 points. That's it. So now I am going to turn on assisted drawing and hit done. And so now it's important if you click on your layers and just make sure that under layer 1 it says assisted. And if not, tap on that and choose drawing assist. And I just found this kind of sneaky shortcut. You can set up preferences. Oops, wait, did I? So I don't know if you could see what I'm doing. Let's see. Yeah, see that little square in between the sliders on my left? Yours might be on the right or whatever. I set up in preferences, when I tap that square, I can turn the drawing assist on and off instead of having to do 2 different layers and going in and turning it on and off. So right now it's on. And I notice my, it looks like my horizon is just a tad crooked. So before I even start, I'm going to go back into my drawing guides, scale this out, and see if I can straighten that out a little. It just needs to go up a little bit on this side. And again, notice my horizon line is up kind of like near the top. I don't want to go all the way up and over. Like I mentioned before, technically it should be in the center, but most of what we're drawing is down below that horizon line. So I think I'm going to stick with this and just go back to done. Okay, that looks a little straighter. And the first thing we're going to do is make a square. And so this is, we don't need the drawing assist on here, although what I gave you guys, if you have my brushes, why is this behaving weird? In the imported ones that I sent you guys, you should have my perspective brushes, and one of those is a square. And and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the square in its own layer just so I can scale it up, because the square is just dependent on the size of the brush that I have. So let's see. Something weird's going on. Why are we not drawing? Oh, you know what? My pencil maybe is off. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to go full size on that brush. And let's see, where are we going to draw this? I'm going to kind of maybe about halfway down. So you can see that this is there's a almost equal space above this square as there is below the square. So somewhere around there. And if you don't have this square brush, just draw a square by drawing two, a vertical and a horizontal. And then if you draw a, sorry, hold on, ink. If you draw a line straight down and then tap a finger on the canvas. Oh, this isn't going to work here. There it goes. So then you can go out 15, 30, I think that's 45. And that should help you draw a square, because I'm just going to make this a little bigger. Basically, where it crosses that line, we go up. Where it crosses this line, you go up. So that's only if you don't have the square brush. I'm going to use what I have here to start with. So that's one way to, whoops, went too far. There we go. And somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay and everything's working so far. You could see the screen and everything, right? Cool. Thank you, Han. All right. So now what we want to do, and again, I just want to reiterate, your perspective vanishing points should not be on this visible canvas. They're outside of it. If you're doing it in a different program, just draw a picture frame and then draw the points outside of there. So now that we have this and we got Drawing Assist set up, and I'm going to keep changing my colors again, just so I can talk through stuff. The first step is we have to figure out a line that is kind of like I just did, diagonal, and then we're going to straighten it out. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. So it's always good to, when you're drawing something that you got to manipulate, draw it on a new layer. And now I'm going to snap from corner to corner, from lower left to upper right. And so that's the length of the diagonal. So I stopped at the, I didn't keep on going. I just stopped on the corner. And now because that is in its own layer, I can use the move tool, the little arrow, and I'm going to grab I don't want to size this, so I have to be really careful not to, so I'm going to grab the green, whoops. Oh, look at that. Oh, cool. This is going to actually help. So I just clicked on the little green tool and it gives me an angle of rotation, which I didn't know it had it. So 45 is what we want, except for I want it the other way. So I'm going to try, so 45, can I go minus? Sorry, I got to think about this for a second. Can I do that? There you go, negative 45. Okay, great. So you see that little plus here, actually, now that I can do my, this plus minus gave me the negative 45. So clear. All right, so now I'm gonna, and again, I don't want to resize this. It's really important. So I'm tapping off on the side, not in the square, off of the square, and I'm just moving it down until it's roughly at the bottom there. So now we have that green line is the diagonal line rotated down to the bottom plane. So what this is, let me just kind of use the highlighter again here. This will be the height of our box, and this is going to be the diagonal length of our box. And so let's just start building it. So we're kind of drawing the diagonal in a way. We're drawing the diagonal first. Let's just box this out. So I've got the I'm in this new layer, but notice this one is an assisted. So I'm going to go back to my assisted original layer. And let me pick a little bit darker color. And I think I should be able to, yeah, good. So I'm just going to, at the end of the length of that, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to draw up, and then I'm going to extend this across. And so now I've got this rectangle instead of a square, and that's going to represent the diagonal through the center of our box. So now we got to project. Okay, so that's in green. So pink was the just square. Green is now the new rectangle. That's our diagonal through our center of our box. And now I will go to blue, let's say, and I'm going to draw a line from the lower corner forward both ways. And so that's going to give me the front corner of my box. And then I'm going to go up to the upper corners and do the same. So both ways, and where they intersect, I should be able to draw down. And again, if you're doing this, it's better to start at the bottom and go up, because this intersection is a little bit more obvious. This one's a very shallow intersection, so it's a little harder to kind of see where the actual intersection is. So I'm going to start at the bottom edge, and I can zoom in here a little bit more so we can see, and go up to the top edge. And so that's now kind of like a triangle. It's almost like the roof of the house that we did a while ago blew off in a windstorm, and it's lying on its side. So now we got to draw the back of the box. So we're going to go from those upper corners now in the opposite directions, left and right vanishing points, and then these lower corners, left and right. And so now we're just going to connect that last back edge. And again, if you look at what's happening here, if I look up at the top, I've got all these did not come together. So I usually go through and check and see, like, where's my errors. So let's do this in a new color. I'll go pink. So if I look at this intersection where these two cross, this could probably be just a little bit higher. And that doesn't look like much higher at all. It's right there. Okay. So that could be a little higher. And then if I look at this intersection, that's fine. But over here, I can see where actually, if I were coming off of this intersection, I'm zoomed way in, that this should be a little lower. This then probably should be a little bit lower as well. And once you do this and just kind of go through and adjust everything, if things are really off, I'll see that actually this intersection is more like over here. And now this should come up closer to where that last intersection should be. And then to go around again and just kind of check this and that. Yeah, so this one looks like it should be just a little bit higher. And I'm just showing you this because, sometimes it'll be right on the money. But if it's really far off, go back and check and see where your errors are. So now that I've kind of adjusted everything, it's meeting up better. So let me, before I go too much further, I'm going to make, now that I've got all my correct diagonal, all my correct lines, I'm going to go and just ink this in a little bit better, but this time I'm gonna keep it like transparent, but I just want to, so I don't have so many lines on here. And I don't think I need this anymore. And I'm going to make a new layer. And on this layer, let's move this one down. Come on. Yeah, this thing is behaving weird. This one I also, oops, no, that's the old one here. This one I want assisted as well. And feel free to just unmute for a minute and go, wait, what did you just do there? Or if you ever get, stuck with something, pause me and let me know. And then I'm going to do my trick that I did before, where in between these two, although these don't seem to be, maybe this isn't going to help me. Oh, there, this moving. Okay. I want to be where I was. So actually, before I do that, I'm going to make one more layer above that one. Notice I select the layer that I want to make a layer above. So I selected that. I'm going to throw white in this layer and just drag it in. There's nothing in this layer, so it should just fill the whole layer up. But then I can turn the layer opacity. And the one trick is if you double tap or tap with two fingers on the layer, it brings up the opacity. And so now I basically got like a piece of tracing paper in between what I'm going to draw. And that just helps separate what I'm doing from what has been done. So let's try, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And I'm going to scale this down so I get more accurate. And I think my pink was my best pass at this. So I'm just going to go through. And again, this is just, actually, it's still just the wireframe. So I'm not going to do all my line thicknesses or double edges or anything like that. I'm just drawing the box again. So carefully, and the precision, as you noticed, pays off. Like there, see, I just did that line. That's not quite on the right spot. So let's do it again. This one goes back over to there. This one. And I see you guys, for me, when I rotate this around, it makes sense, but sometimes that can make people seasick. All right, so all that's good. And now I'm going to turn off that other one just so I have a nice clean box. All right, so that's what we're going to start with. And I think, let's see, 1, 2. I'm just kind of strategizing here. I'm going to save this again. Actually, first, before I do anything else, I'm going to also draw on the horizon line, because that horizon line that you see is just the perspective tool. It's not an actual horizon line. So draw that in and then save what you're, I'm going to go back to my gallery and slide to the right and duplicate it. And this will be, I'm going to call this big square. Okay, so that's going to be my master. This is, this one is going to be my cans. All right, I was going to try to just use this one square and divide it up into 4 things, but I think it's going to get too small. So I'm going to use our doubling technique and double this going here. I'll just preview here. So we're going to, I'll do this really quick here first. We're going to find the X, find the center, draw across to find the center of this, and then draw the longer diagonal. And then we're going to extend this out. And then once we got to this point, we can go up. We can extend this line, and this line out from those. And then from this point, going back in perspective, that one back, and we'll have double the amount of boxes in there. So that's what I'm going to do right now, just step by step. So let's get going. So I'm going to leave that first square on its own layer just so, because it's pristine. And now let's work on doubling here. So let's go. First step is to just draw the X from corner to corner. And draw, hold, snap, a line. And then from the center across And notice I do this sometimes. I think my assist is on and it's not. So I got to turn on my assist and drawing across to the center line. Sorry, the center of that edge. And now let's change color just for, you don't have to do all the color stuff. It's just for me to talk through it. So here's my red line that is going through that midpoint on my line. And I've got to extend the box out until I meet that diagonal, the new longer red diagonal. And now I can draw a line up, draw this top edge over. Now for where those meet, I can go back in space and extend this back edge and extend this. Here, I'm going to do the back side of the box in a different color. I'll just do blue. Okay, so that's the front or visible part of the box that we can see. And now I'm going to extend this back edge over and then back into perspective. And where those meet up again from the bottom up, go up, and there's two cubes now. Good so far? Good so far, anybody? Thank you. Thank you, Han. All right, so let's keep going. I'm trying to also, like I said, I'm formulating a plan here. I think. Yeah, I'm gonna, I think this might get close to the edge, but I'm going to do the same process on this side. And we're gonna add this by first find the diagonals, then find the center line, and then the long drawn out one. And then we're going to build one square here and one square here. And so we'll have 4 total squares. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn all 4 of these into cylinders. But then we're going to put them in a little lower box. So it's like 4 paint cans in a little crate to bring home, or maybe 4 coffee cups. We could think of it that way. So that's where we're going with this, just to give you a heads up. So now this, oops, wake up. This second box might get close to the edge, but when we turn it into a cylinder, it won't go quite as far. So I think it'll be okay. But I'm going to do, I just told you how we're going to do this, but I'm going to show you just some other techniques. So I'm going to do this in yellow. And we found the center of this edge right here. So we already know where the center line is. And instead of doing the X, I'm going to bring this center line over to the front and then across over here. Maybe this will be our box in the end. And this will give me the center line here. And then we could just draw the one diagonal down, and we don't need to actually draw the X in this side. So let's try that. So clear. So first step is I'm going to extend that center line to this edge, and then that center line, whoops. Every once in a while when you're drawing in the perspective guides, misinterpret what you want to do. So, whoops, it moved, I noticed. It went a little too slow. Okay, so that's the halfway point. And just to show you, theoretically, if I draw my diagonals in here, and you don't have to do this, I'm just showing you. 1, 2. See how they cross right on that line. So both of those work. I'm just showing you ways to kind of move measurements around in 3-dimensional space. Since we're here, let's just extend this because we're going to use this for our box out to that side. And we could, I'll just go for there now. Okay. All right. All right. So now in, let's say, orange, I'm going to draw the long diagonal and wait for that to snap and go through that middle of that back edge right there. And then I'm going to extend all of these off this way, where I cross that diagonal, I go up, where I cross, or sorry, extend that one over. Where those two cross, I go back. And actually, I'm going to go back a little further because we're going to connect all of these. So oops, just undid that. Come on, get in there. And then this, so there should be 4 boxes now. And let's do these in, I'm going to do this kind of similar where the front is, the visible edges are yellow, which I just did. And then I'm going to go and do the backside in a light blue. So from this corner here, back to the, let's go all the way back. To the right vanishing point, we'll connect these across. We'll extend this one across, and where those meet up, we'll go up, and that should be close to that intersection, and that is a little bit off. Yeah, here again, those aren't quite lining up, so if I followed around, I might find some areas like right here, for example. This line really should be up higher. And if this line is up higher, that intersection is a little further back. And if that intersection is a little further back, whoops, that's a little too much. This line should be somewhere over there. So that's a little closer to, okay, so we have 4 cubes all stacked up next to each other. Our next object or objective is to, we're going to start on the bottom again because the tops are kind of harder to draw ellipses in because they're very narrow. So the bottom edge is going to actually be a little easier to get our ellipses in. So we'll start there. We'll find our maximum width. And then we'll work on the upper one that fits. It's got to be the same width overall. So that's going to help guide us. So, and then once we get the first one, we'll move all the way around all 4 of the bottom ellipses. Oops, I'm drawing on the wrong tablet. Okay. So I noticed a lot of you guys are not really going through the process of getting the ellipses into the filling in the square properly. It's kind of just a quick guesstimate. And you can do that quick guess later. But right now, I want you to get as accurate as we can. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move up my transparency layer, and then we'll start a new layer and put on the drawing assist. So let's go through the whole process of dividing this up like we did. So first I'm going to, because this is a new layer, I'm just going to draw the bottom of the box. Okay, so there's the start. And then we got to do the diagonals. So I'll do those in orange. So from one corner, and this is behaving in a different way than I used to have. So let me, I know here, yeah, I can turn off the assist. Okay, so then now what's happening? What? Okay, well, that doesn't do anything. There we go. And again, my diagonal's slightly off on this corner, so I'm just going to redo this and get in that corner. Okay, so I've got my, I'm going to turn up my tracing paper a little bit more, just so we can see what we're doing. And then get back to my normal layer. All right, so once we found the center, now we can draw with to the vanishing points. And here, like this is what I was telling you, if you're on your iPad in Procreate, it's easier to start from the center and then draw to one side and then back to the other. And then do the same, start from the center and go forward and back. And that will go to the left vanishing point. And so here we just divided that lower section with the red lines into 4 equal little mini squares. And now here's, I'm going to go and grid the whole thing out just to be thorough. And here's where I have to start guessing at the thirds, basically. So 1/3 there, maybe a little further over. And I'm drawing these vertically just so you can see my marks. Yeah, that looks like it's got to go a little further over. And the better that spacing is, the more accurate your ellipse is going to be. So once I got those, let's do one more color again. So this is going to be a light turquoisey color. And if I draw that and kind of look at those spaces, I can see that maybe this first one needs to be over a little further. So it looks a little better. And then I'm going to draw these other ones. And maybe here again, this has got to go a little bit further. And I'll scoot that one over just a little bit. All right, and now to divide the second side, I could do the same thing, but also remember where those diagonals, the orange diagonals cross those green lines, those all should meet up in the same place. So I can look at these diagonals, and let me actually highlight those real quick. So where this orange line hits that spot, orange line hits that spot and that spot. This one hits this spot, that spot, orange line to green line, or all those, right? And so to do my diagonals the other way, I can look at those intersections and just go across the other way. Now, if I messed up on my first lines, I'm just transferring those measurements over, so I'm messing up on these too. But if everything lines up properly, then you know you're doing it right. If nothing is hitting the diagonals, then something is amiss. So there's my grid. Clear this. And now, if you remember, I'm going to do this quick and then I'll go through it. Where the red line hits the black line, there's 4 spots where the circle touches the square. Those are the 4. Then there's either left and right of all of those. We just go up a little bit. So I'm just going to go left and right of each of those up on the line a little bit. And then the next, oh, one more. And then the next one is just past that intersection. So there's two just past the intersection, 2 and 2, right? So let's actually draw this in now. Whoops. Let me zoom in. Oh, if I zoom, no, undo, redo. All right, I have to clear this because I just changed the scale. So I'm going to redraw those in here with blue. So first, I need to turn off my assisted layer because it's going to make it hard to draw these. So let me do this again. So where we see a blue dot, 4 intersections where the red meets the outer edge. And then up a little bit. And let's see which one was those lines. I'm not sure which one of those lines I decided. So this time I'm going to go around in a circle, little past the intersection, up a little bit from the edge, up a little bit from the edge, just past the intersection, up a little bit from the edge, just past the intersection, and back to there, up from the edge, just past the intersection, up from the edge. All right, so I got all my points, and now I'm just going to kind of connect those first, just kind of with some sketchy lines. And like right here, I could see this isn't quite meeting up. So maybe my dots are off a little bit. So don't trust the dots as much as you should have a perfect ellipse. So that's my guide for where I need the ellipse to be. Let's do one more line, which I don't have in here, is the what's going to be the minor axis of this ellipse and the major axis. And both of those are going to go, actually, you know what? They're not going to go, the major axis, it won't necessarily go through the center of the box, but the minor will. So the minor axis is just a vertical up and down line. So let's do that one more color. Pink. And so here I'm going to turn my assist back on. And I'm going to draw straight up and then back down. And so that's the axis of this box. And I could actually scale this down and extend that up a little further because we're going to need it for the top. And if you're drawing this by hand, just clean up that ellipse as best as you can. If you're drawing this in Procreate, you can snap a little oval. And if you have other tools, you might have some other ways of doing this. But so now I'm going to do this. That's all my construction work. So I'm going to do this on another layer. I'm just going to go ahead and do this in black because, and again, now I'm going to go back and I move my transparency layer up one so that I'm kind of ghosted all the stuff below it. And just going to focus on getting that ellipse that, well, let's go ahead and just do it here. So I'm going to go kind of slow and just trace out as best as I can. And here, it's okay if I get a little bump here or there, but I don't want to go too slow because it'll stop tracing and think I'm done. So get all the way back to the, and then hold and let it snap. And then I'm going to go click on that edit image up on the top. And now if it's pretty close, but the blue dots got to line up on that center axis. And you can see that there's something is not quite right, because if I move those dead center, then I'm either not touching the two right and left side, but I'm going over the front and back. But that's actually okay. I'd rather have it, like I said, a perfect ellipse than the fitting in the box, because we're not really 100% sure that the box is exactly square. So this tells me that the box is probably a little bit too long. Here, I'll just draw in here. My box is a little bit too long in these directions because see, it's not quite touching. And then it's not long enough in these two directions because it's hanging over the edge a little bit. There is one other factor here is that if I drew my cone of vision, let's see, so I'm halfway. Yeah, the cone of vision's probably something like this. So I'm getting kind of close to the edge. And so when I get past the cone of vision, this will start really tipping over. And so it may just be that is that the I'm just getting a little bit of distortion. So, but I'm going to straighten it out because it's going to look better. All right, so now we're going to do the same process on the top. And I'm just going to go through the whole thing again because this is, like I said before, oh, and I'm done, so I could just click off of that. There's, 5 to 10 rules that we're just going to do over and over and over again, not 1,000 rules. And we're going to, so this is just another, we're just going to do this again up on the top, basically, is what I'm getting at. So I've got the top here. And before I even do that, I'm going to, see, and I did this, I drew my oval on my transparency layer. So I've got to do this. Let me just back out of there. There we go. I got to redraw that on my proper layer. Sorry about that. Because then when I move my transparency layer around, it's gonna mess everything up. So a little faster this time. Pop, edit, get those 2 little blue dots on my line, center line. And hanging over the edge a little bit, but that's okay. So now here's my new. Okay, so this I'm going to do all construction again. So this is just a construction layer. So one thing I know is that I need the drawing assist on, but I need these lines in here too. So these are just the tangent lines from the edge of the lower cylinder. That's going to help me out. And now I'm going to just draw that top box in just to kind of refocus on which lines we're really working with. And that last line, not quite right. Better. All right, so then now I'm going to do my diagonals in orange like we did before. Orange, and here orange, and then the from there we've got our let me zoom in, from the middle point forward to this line, backwards to that line, and then the same over here. And these are kind of shallow, so sometimes the when you're drawing those, the drawing assist might think you want to make those just horizontal lines, but you don't. You want those as actual. All right, so now let's so we'll divide this up, but again, I'm going to just show you, because we divided this lower one and you can barely see it. I can see them. So I'm going to take this measurement and this measurement off the bottom edge and just transfer it up to the top. And so this is just kind of moving things around in 3D space. And then I'm going to go across and across. And that looks like decent enough. And then let's go back and do kind of what I was talking about. Let me zoom in here. So this blue hits the diagonal there. And so I can draw these lines going this way. And then when those lines hit this diagonal, I can cross over and go the other way. So you can just kind of chase it all the way around. So redo. so where the first intersection is, I'm going to go back and forth. The second intersection here, back and forth. And then now these cross the back. And these ones are kind of a little bit harder because they're at shallow angles. So I'm not 100% confident in these, but I'll give it a shot. And then over here, these two intersections, there and here. Or like I did before, I could transfer up from these lower measurements up to the top of the box. But all right, let's say that's good enough. And now let's draw our key points. So where is this? Okay, there we go. So again, the four red places where the center lines cross onto the black square, that's where the circle has to touch all four of those. And now let's go around. So now we're really skewed here. So a little bit up from the edge on these ones is going to be barely anything. Just past the intersection. These ones are a little bit more open, a little bit up from the edge, just past the intersection, a little from the edge, a little from the edge, just past the intersection, a little from the edge, a little from the edge, just past the intersection. All right, now those two little just past the intersection points need to actually, the ellipse can't be any wider than those pink lines going up, because that's what we got on the bottom. So I need to adjust that a little bit. So I think my intersection is probably a little bit off. And so here, this one, this big long arc here, this section and this section are relatively straightforward. It's these little tight ones that got to come in just a little bit tighter so that it bumps into those two vertical pink lines here and here. It can't be any wider than the ellipse down on the bottom. So now this may tell me maybe this is right and this one's a little too shallow, but we're just gonna go with what I got here. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my other layer. I'm going to move this up a little bit. And I'm going to move my transparency up. And so I have to kind of pay attention to, there's a lot of lines in there, but I got to pay attention to which are the important ones. So I'm going to draw my, oops, I want this in black. Let me make sure. Yeah, so there's my, and again, this might not fit in the box perfectly, but because the lower one didn't quite fit in the box. Whoops, a little bit too far out. Edit. Okay, so actually, look at that. The two are right on the line. I'd say that looks good. Although actually, could go just a tad that way. And now I need to connect the sides down. Oops, now I need my assist back on. And we have our first cylinder. Woohoo! Yay! All right, what time is it now? 4:58. Let's do because this let's do a two breaks at the hour. So it's a good break now. We'll just do quick 5-minute breaks instead of one longer one. Is that okay? Is anybody out there? Okay, so actually here it's 4:50, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, sorry. Come back at 5. We'll give 10 minutes right now, 5:10, and then we'll do another short break later. How's that sound? So I need to pause this recording. Zoom. All right, so as I just mentioned here, hold on, let me just do this again. We're going to draw this ellipse, or sorry, this cylinder over here next. So maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this one off, or the layer off, so that we can just concentrate on this one without it getting in the way. So let's get back over here. And like I said, I'm going to turn, oh, oh boy. I did it. I don't know if you could see it, but I drew on the layer again. So I'm just going to drop these two together. And if I turn this off, you'll see that everything is there. So I'm going to have to do a new. One trick I can do, because this is opaque, is I can just turn this layer where that little N is. If I click on that, and this is kind of confusing because I see it starts with darken, but if you scroll up, one of the options is multiply. And so if you ever have a white layer with a white paper scan or whatever, if you just turn it to multiply, it'll behave like a clear layer. And so, but I'm going to turn that one off for now. And this is the top and the bottom. I'm going to smush those together. Come on, get in there and turn that off. And this is, I'll leave that on. And so just to make things clear, I'm going to just trace out the cube on a new layer so I can turn everything off. So I've already got the cube and everything. I'm just going to make a duplicate. So I'm going to turn on the assist and trace this in, I don't know, any old color. And once you get, used to all this, you can navigate through all these lines and with your brain, just see through and pick the correct line. But sometimes this gets really confusing when you have so many lines on top of each other. Diagonals, which one does that come from? Is this the back of that? So that's why I'm just kind of isolating this. Oops, and I forgot a couple pieces, so let's just finish that up. Okay, so this is now the second cube, and just to verify, where's our first one here? It's behind the other one. All right, so let's get to it. So we're going to do some more ellipses. So we're going to start again on the bottom and work our way up. So the first step is to draw the diagonals. And I'm going to go across and snap. Cross and snap. And then I found the center. So I'm going to use red again to go from the center out to this edge and then back. Actually, I'm going to do that right to the edge. Boop. Boop. And then I'm going to go forward and back to my other vanishing point. And so now I've got the beginning of my divisions, and then now let's divide up the grid. Oops, I want a different color. Let's go with turquoise again. Again, I'm dividing this into three kind of equal-ish. And it's a little hard to see, but let's give this a try and see. It's almost easier once you've drawn the lines to kind of visualize if those look like they're evenly spaced, and those look pretty good. I think this back one, though, I might need some adjustment. Yeah, see how the very last one looks thicker, And it should be the other way around. They should be getting thinner as they go further back. So we go even a little further over that and that. Yeah, so that looks better. And again, I can divide up the front edge, or I can find the intersections. And here I'm going to highlight them again. So here's a case where this blue edge, we don't care about that. We're not looking for an intersection on this blue edge. We're looking for the one on the orange. So there's orange intersection. There's one, there's one, there's one. Here's one, here's one, there's one, and there's one. Now, we don't actually need all of those. Because if you do one side, it goes across to the other side. So, but I'm just showing you where all the intersections are, because it doesn't really matter which one you start with. Okay, so there's my grid. Now let's start mapping in our dots. And so turning my assist off. So we know that it's got to run into all four of these midpoints. And then we know it's going to be a little bit up, a little past that intersection. I'm just going to run around a little up, a little past the intersection, a little up, a little past the intersection, a little bit up from the edge, past the intersection, a little bit from the edge. Okay, so now let's map that out. And if that first square was a little bit off, this one will probably also, because they're based off of each other. So if it's a little bit more rectangular than square, this will have that same fate. Okay, so I'm doing one more new layer, and this is where I'm going to try to, oh, and one other thing I just forgot to do is the center line. So the center axis of this box. And that's going to go through the very center of that red X and just go up and down. And so I'm going to start at the center. I'm going to go all the way up and go all the way down. And that's just that line that my minor axis has to line up with that. So now I can do my, oops, I did this on the wrong layer. Oops, no, I don't want my assist on. I'm sorry. Okay, so are we ready? We're going to go, oops, I went black. Double check again. I'm in my layer. So I'm going to start up at the top and roll around. See there, I got a little bit of wobble in there, but hopefully I can correct that. So those two little blue dots look pretty close to the center. This actually doesn't look too bad. I think I can scoot this over just a tad. And sometimes you can't see what I'm doing, but I just put my finger on the pad outside of this ellipse and then just roll my finger and it will pull it over instead of trying to actually slide my finger. I just kind of roll it like this, and that seems to work. Okay, so there's that ellipse. Now let's go up to the top. So I'm going to go back to my messy work layer and do the same process again. So like I said, you just do this kind of over and over and over again, and then it becomes second nature. So let's do the same colors. So orange diagonal first, and this is not assisted. Oh, no, we don't want it assisted. So I've noticed just drawing these diagonals, you can do them where you hold and snap and pull when the drawing assist is on, but it actually works way better with it off. So here, watch, if I, well, I don't know if you can see what the problem is, but if I try to draw down, it's going to snap out straight. And then when I try to move it over, the tip of it is in a different place than my stylus. And so I have to just really carefully visually do it. And so if the assist is off, it behaves very differently. But so I got that, and now I do want my assist on because I'm going to draw the center lines. So that's going to go back and hit that one. And you'll notice that like when it's really skewed like this in squishy box, that these lines almost seem like they're wrong. It's too much of a flat X. But if you look at the edges, it seems to have landed on the midpoints. All right, so let's go now to our division. So let's just try something. And is my, yeah. And again, you can see that in these squishier boxes, all this becomes a little bit more challenging. Oops. That's why we started on the bottom. Okay, now, once again, we could go with those where the diagonals cross the those blue lines, the diagonal orange ones. But I think in this one, it's so skewed that it's actually going to be more accurate if I kind of re-establish what a third is. And then if I draw those and they cross over on those diagonals, then I know I'm pretty close. So yeah, that all looks good. All right, so let's do this last one here, get all our dots in here. Assist off. All right, so we know the four midpoints. And then we're just going to roll around again. So a little bit up from the edge, a little past the intersection, up from the edge, oops, on, up from the edge, past the intersection, up from the edge. Doop, 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 and doop. All right, so now let's kind of ink that in. And I'm going to have you guys, when I finish this up, it's going to be before the end of class, but I want to just to do a screen grab and post this onto Mural before class is over so I can see how far along you are. And so hopefully you didn't just take off and okay, so now I'm going back to my inking layer, which is this one. And now I'm going to, you see that purple center line is my minor axis. So I got to make sure that my little dots line up on there. And I find it's very helpful to make sound effects as you draw ellipses. Oops. And now you can see something, my two dots are off, but also this is off. So if I stretch that out, that starts pulling those dots closer to the center line. And let's see. Yeah, I'd say that looks good. And now I'm going to turn this layer way down. And I should have drawn the vertical lines up first because sometimes that helps guide. Whoops, my assist is not on, but it does show me that, yeah, see how this is not quite right? So this upper one is bigger than the lower one. And so I think to me, the upper one actually looks like probably more right. Maybe the lower one needs to adjust a little bit. But let me go back, and just because this is on this layer right there. Okay. So before I do it, I'm gonna go back to this layer. Lighten this one up a little. And I'm gonna draw those vertical lines going up first. Yeah, and I could just kind of tell these, if you look in there, I didn't quite hit those dots, so it does need to be a little wider. So it's really the bottom ellipse that's not quite right. But we're gonna go with this. All right, so now I've got, oops. I've got to make this a little bit shorter. Stop, hold, snap, edit, shift. And we'll call that done. And now actually I'm going to go in and erase, oops, this little extra. I could have drawn those verticals on my construction layer so that when I did this, it would be accurate. All right, so let's turn on the other ellipse. Is where? Oh, it's on that white layer. Okay, so here, this is a little interesting. Those should just touch at the, like the bottom one is touching perfectly tangent. That upper one, the upper ellipse is just a little too far. So you see they're overlapping. So I think what I can do, because they're on separate layers, I think I can fix this by just moving that upper one down a little bit. So I'm going to make a rectangular, because these are all in separate layers. I think I can do this without messing up. So there's just got a touch. And if I had drawn these on the same layer, I wouldn't be able to do this because I'd be moving the other one. But so do you see how the bottom ones are just touching at the, right where that red center line comes, that because they're touching both on the center line. So, and then same should be on the top, is they're touching each other right at that same center line. All right, two more to go. But I think what I'm going to do before I draw the other ones, I'm just going to kind of jump ahead for a minute. And I'm going to draw the box that they're all in. And so I'm going to go back to my way original. Here we go. And I'm going to go up one above here. And you see that yellow line, that's kind of the midline of the those cubes. And so I'm going to use that as this kind of low cut box. Like I said, just imagine these are coffees in a tray or paint cans in a little shorty box or whatever. So I can go ahead and I'll just draw this in first in kind of wireframe. But where's that main? Don't need that. Don't need that. Well, we actually do. I'm just going to turn the opacity down a little bit on that. And here's my new layer. And we want that assisted. And I'm going to draw this in red. All right, so first I'm going to kind of look at that yellow line that goes all the way out to here. And I'm going to bring that down and go across the bottom and go across this way all the way out to here. And then come up, and I'm not sure how high it is, so I got to go around here to find the corner. And then here is where it goes back into space. And at some point, we're not going to really see any of that. So I'm just kind of, because those cans are going to cover it up. um, so something like that is going to be a box. And maybe I'll even say there's, like in a wine box, there's those dividers. If there was a divider, it would follow up along this edge and go back into space right there. And over here, this is the space between the two boxes. And there's the little divider. And so now we got to draw this. We'll do the cylinder in this back corner over here next. And you see that, like, if you look at this can, whoops. Oh, what did I do? Clear. Sorry, my annotations stopped for a minute here. This corner of the box sticks out further than the cans, and it seems at first like, what's going on here? But what's happening is, I'll go back to here. If I'm just going to draw on top here, if we're looking at this kind of at the side view, and now I got lines on. And our cans are like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're looking at this from over here. The box will extend further out into space than the cans do. And so that's what we're seeing over here is the kind of extended corner. Now the cans touch here in the center. So you'd think, oh, well, wait a minute, it can't be any wider than the cylinders, but they're touching in these midpoints over here. And then the box is continuing across and around there. So that's what's happening there. Clear. Uh-oh. Wake up. Sorry, that when it falls asleep, it loses connection. Hold on a second. Come on. Oops, I got the wrong one. No. Sorry, guys, hold on 1 second. I'm going to pause recording. Oh, wait, something's happening. There we go. Okay, we're back. All right, I'm going to try to isolate this again, just so we're just doing one at a time, because like I said, there's so many things going on here. It's easy to get confused the line. So I'm going to also do this. This is rename. Where's that? Oh, up at the top here. I'm just doing a little maintenance here. Okay, that's that one. This, that, and where is it? That. Sorry, guys. I'm just gonna shove all this stuff together so we're not so cluttered. Just a little bit of maintenance. Okay, so I'm going to trace over that back corner box just so we can isolate it. So here's a new layer. I'm gonna turn my assisted on. And actually, I don't want blue. I mean, a red. I'll do light blue. So this is just merely recapturing this box. You can see this is a little bit off, so I'm gonna move that over. I think that's all of it. Yeah, this always happens. You can one more line, no problem. And let's just change that to blue. Okay, so there's my further box, and this one I may have some more problem because we're kind of scooting out to the side. More distortion, but let's get it going. So let's do the bottom. This time I'll grid out both and before I do the ovals. So first my orange diagonals. And that found me my center. I'm going to do that up here too. And then I'm going to go from the center left and right. Oops. Left and right, forward and back. And here I could also, instead of using that upper diagonal, I could go up the side and then across the back, and that should also provide the same results if everything's all accurate. But and same with the other side, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this. All right, so there's my my center points, and now let's do our divisions. And that, let's go down to the bottom because that's a little more accurate, like I said. And 1, 2, 3, something like that. And then now I got to go the other way. And so I'm going to divide, or I'm going to use my diagonals again. So again, I'm going through the intersections of the diagonals instead of measuring out 1/3. Right. So, but now up here, I am going to do this just for fun. I could take these lines up to here and then back across. So like I'm trying to show you, you can move a measurement all the way around anywhere just by following around the box. Now, once I got those in there, I'm going to just go across. I'm looking at the diagonal intersection of the orange and the green. And then now over here, actually, yeah, I'm just going to move these up also. Okay, now I've got my whole thing gridded out. I'm gonna not do the last cylinder so that you guys can do that on your own, just to make this not so terribly long. But the repetition I think is good because I want you to see how this works. Okay, so I'm turning my assist back off now. And I'm gonna highlight all my little points. Up from the edge, just past the intersection, up from the edge, on the edge, up from the edge, past the intersection, up from the edge, on the edge, up and around, past the intersection. He's going, he's coming in first. And just past there, just up from the edge. Okay, map this out. Okay, there's that one, and then we'll do the lower one. 1, 2, 3, 4 on either side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then the intersection right there. You know, instead of doing 2 points, I'm just going to draw a little line. Maybe that will be easier. So it is just 2 points past the intersection, but I'm just drawing a little straight segment there. So going around, round and round she goes. Here it comes around the corner. Okay, so there's my construction. Now let's try the verticals. Let's draw those first so I can see that my lower ellipse is a little bit wider than my upper. So I'm going to just kind of subtract a little bit on this and divide the difference so that the it's kind of like an average of the two. So let's now all this is in its own layer. So I'm going to turn the opacity way down on this, and then now we'll draw the inked in version of that. So new layer. This time I'm going to black. Boom. And so I'm going to draw my ellipse. And I don't think it really matters where you start. Oh, you know what? Once again, I forgot my center. So I'm going to undo this and draw that center axis in that goes through the two red X's. I think I did it in pink. So if I start at the center of the X, and this, again, the bottom one's always the more accurate. So that should be the center line. Now I can go in and draw my ellipse, because now I've got that center line to make the little blue dots snap to, or the minor axis. Pop, edit. Okay, so here, if I scoot this over, I notice that they're not quite on there. So if I scoot over a little further, that's good. But now my verticals, one of them looks on and the other's off. So I'm going to make this just a little bigger, actually. Yeah, I'm going to go bigger still. And before I draw anything else, I'm going to turn on the other cylinders just to make sure we're not having that same kind of overlap problem. And that looks good. So we're in business. So let's go back now and finish this up. And I think I can leave, I'll just leave the other ones on, but I got to make sure I'm in the right layer. And draw this ellipse. Yeah. And now I've got a couple more things to look out for when I edit this. Uh-oh, I think I missed the editing option. So actually, let me draw the verticals first. Turn on my assist. Okay, vertical. So now we know we got to touch those verticals. We got to hit all those corner points, and we got to match up right there. So, and the center line's got to be on the center line. So there's a lot going on here. Whoops. Once again, assist off. Whoa. It's a little wobbly. Okay, edit ellipse. All right, so here I'm a little crooked. So let's pull this down. push this whole thing up, because again, we want that touching right at that corner there. It looks like I'm a little bit tipped still too, because one dot's on one side of that pink line, the other dot's on the other. So I'm going to move this up again. And as I mentioned, this box is getting more outside of the cone of vision, and you can see my ellipse that I drew is actually kind of at a bigger angle, and that's because of that distortion. So I'm basically straightening it out and just saying, yeah, I know what it's supposed to be, but I'm going to fix it. All right, so now where's my box? There it is. All right, so now, like I said, I'll save that last ellipse for you guys to do, but if I did this all on layers that are, actually, I'm gonna just start, I'm gonna save this as is, and because I want to use some of those inked in layers that I did, but I don't want to, I'm gonna erase some stuff as well. So let's just go back to the gallery and slide and duplicate it. Okay, so now I'm working off the duplicate. And so what's going to happen here is, even though we spent all this time making these top and bottoms of the cylinders, what's going to show in this particular drawing is, and I saved it so we could use those for other things because we need all the information. Now we're just going to draw this cardboard box with the 3 cans, and you guys are going to do another one in there, and maybe I'll add just a few more little details, like a little bit of thickness to this cardboard instead of just plain paper thin. So are you ready? So I'm going to ink in the box first. So I'm going to do the outside as I see it, and then I'm going to add a little thickness on to the inside. So what that means is that I'm going to treat this like like I do the cube. So, oops, I think I need some assist here. So this will be a visible edge. So I'm going to actually go a little thicker here. So visible edge there. Just check and make sure I'm still recording. Visible edge in the bottom. And a lot of times I like to make the bottom edge a little bit thicker, just because the shadow that it creates. And then I'm going to go up to here, over to the can and stop. Over here, down, and this one's a little off. There we go. And then now all of this is going to be a turning edge. So what that means is that I'm going to go thinner still. And I'm going to do, it's kind of like, when the cardboard folds over and it makes actually kind of like a little thick reinforced edge. So that's what I'm going to do here. So this is going to be a double line. And I didn't mean to draw this really in front of this, but that'll still work. So so those are all the turning edges. And now I'm going to go back thicker and draw the thickness of the cardboard. And it's not going to be much, but this is now a visible edge because we're seeing past this to something else, to the cans, to whatever's inside the box. And so that's a thicker edge. And then these little divider guys, I'll keep that same thicker edge for the back side. No. Back side. And then I'll go thinner for the front side. And the front is over here. And then same here. Now this is just a folded edge. So this is where, I don't know if this is making sense, but anytime I'm seeing like from one object into it or outside of it or whatever, that's different than when it's just a folded edge or a transitional edge. Okay, so there's that should be the box. And now I'm going to go through my cans. And in this case, let's see, which one is this? This is the back one. So what am I seeing and what am I not seeing? And I'm not going to see anything below this edge. So I'm going to erase from right here. Am I still on or on? Okay. So here, even though I'm erasing, I'm using the assist just because it makes it easier. I can just follow the lines down. And oh, that's also because it's another layer, I can erase past that line. And over here, it's going to stop right there. And then again, this feels like I did all that work, but just for this case, let's keep on going. Okay, so that's the back cam. So that's all I'm going to see there. And then, and I'm going to just go start putting these things together. So I'm going to put those two together. And then don't need that anymore. Don't need that. This is the next cylinder. Okay, so here's this one. It's going to be everything below this edge here. And below this edge. And all of that. Now, the other thing is this could be a transparent box, in which case I would actually see all the bottom edges and stuff. So that's that visible can, and let's smush that up with the other ones. So I'm going to move this up and smush those two together. And then we got that back can, which is this one here. And so again, I got to go in here and kind of mentally figure out what am I seeing and what am I not seeing. And right up there. And now let's smush that in there with it. So I'm going to move this up and join those two together. And there's a little overlap here. So I want to be careful. Get in there. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so there's 3 cans in a box with a little divider in between them. And because these are cans, I'm going to add just a little bit of the lip, like the little metal edge that goes around the can. And so I think I can do this just by using what I have here. But I'm going to give you a little preview here. Plus, what I want to do is gives a little bit of thickness to this edge. So I'm going to draw another ellipse that's going to fit just inside there. And I'm going to kind of pay attention to that idea that the edges got to be a little thicker than the top and the bottoms. And then I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of an edge down here where like this would be the label over here. So that's what I'm planning on doing. And I'm going to do this on another layer just to make sure that I have a little bit more control over it. And you can see in here, I didn't quite get those lines lined up properly. And now that I've erased everything else, it might behoove me just to move these edges over a little bit. Let's just go ahead and do that because it's bothering me. You see how these aren't quite matching up. So I'm going to just erase this whole line. And redraw it. And then you can see I need to fix these two. Yeah, it looks a little better. And this one over here. That in also. And now fix these up. This is actually a style sometimes to leave a little teeny white break between objects so that they pop off of each other. But let's add a what I was gonna do, a little lip here. So this is where I'm gonna try to eyeball it from this existing. Actually, you know what I could do? I think I've got an idea. I'm gonna try drawing right on top of that. So I try to get this same ellipse. And then I'm gonna edit it. And now I'm gonna move the sides in more than the top and the bottom. Oops, and now I should have my axis on too, because that would have helped. Let me do this more, actually, just because these are almost right on top of each other. So remember, if you think about what's happening here, the proportions. Turn my light here. The proportion of this ellipse. Draw. If this were a circle and this was as thick as this was, and I went all the way around, this is like 1/4 of the full dimension of the circle or less. So that means that this distance has to be 1/4. So it's going to be very narrow. And I'm just kind of estimating, but just to kind of get that concept across. So let's do the other ones now. And so again, I'm just drawing right on top of the existing ellipse, and that's helping me get the proportions and everything pretty close. And then I'm going to, this one did an arc instead. Let's try that again. And first, kind of make sure it's lined up. And then now I'm going to pull the sides in left and right, equal amounts, and then the top and the bottom little bits. In fact, I probably should do the top and the bottom first, because you see it's harder to control. This one you can control the edge rotation better. So shrink top and bottom first. And let's see, what time is 6:02. Let's do this last one. Okay, so like I said, bring the top and bottom up first, and then grab the sides and bring those in, and you'll have a little more control. Now this last ellipse in here, it's going to also be a little bit not what you expect, because it's going to come in, it's going to have to touch this one here and this one, like quadrant line there, and go past on either side. But now, just for fun here, I'm going to do something else. I'll call this all my inking and stuff done. Let's get Oh, those ellipses are on. I'm going to bring those down. Turn off all my other layers. I'm going to create a new. Actually, I'll put this in here. That's the horizon line. So I'm making a new layer, and this is going to be. I'm just going to show you do some text in perspective. So first off, I got to remember where the text is. It's in somewhere weird. Canvas here. Add. Yeah. Okay. So it's under add text. And so here's my text, and it looks like, I don't think that blue line is actually there. It's just highlighting. So now I got to get my keyboard. And what will this be? Wait, where's my keyboard? There it is. Paint. This is very unimaginative, but yeah, you could obviously change all the features and whatnot, but I'm going to say that's good. And then I'm not sure what I do here. Return? No. How about that? No, that's return. Delete. Okay. So I've got some text, and it's got the little square marquee around it, but I want to put this on the side of that box, and I don't want the I don't want to have to go to both ends of this. I want a little space on either side. So what I'm going to do, and it's a text layer, so you can notice that when I click on the layer, it looks different than anything else. So what is in layer 7? Nothing. Okay, great. So I'm actually going to go into a different layer right below it, and I'll turn on assist here, and I'm just going to draw a box around this to kind of represent the side of the that crate. Something like that. Nope, still too low. Come on. Making a mess here. Here. Oops. Yeah, okay. I'm going overboard here. I can erase this after I'm done, but basically what I want to do is I want to smush that text down into this layer. So now it's rasterized. It's not an editable text layer. And then I'm going to grab that, and it automatically, in fact, here, I'm going to clean up those edges because this is part of my point I'm trying to get across, is if I have this just right to these edges, now I can take that layer and use the distort option down on the bottom. And now if you see, I can kind of start stretching, and this just works. It's a little confusing, but if you just grab the corners and map them onto the corners of your box, and it looks all weird until you get the last corner on there. And now you can see the text is the right amount of compression and in perspective, and it actually diminishes as it goes, except for that back corner is not quite right. Let's see. And you can see it's kind of centered. That's not quite right either. Okay, so now that little frame around it would just help me find the corners. I can erase that part of it because I don't need that anymore. And it's on its own layer, so it doesn't matter. And let's just make that a little less bold. And there we go. And of course, I think I showed you guys mapping textures and stuff on there too. Let's do one last thing here. Yeah, I'll do one last thing. This is a little bit of a trick that I've learned. First, I got to connect this. Beep, beep, beep. So if I have this layer and I duplicate it, so I have two of them. The top one is they're both on multiply, so that's fine. I got all my other layers off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off this top one and use the second one for coloring. And so here now, because I've got the oops, it's all inked in already. I can just drag colors and notice that this went way outside and it's all messed up and everything. Oh, that's, yeah, it's a little funny, but this is because I erased some of this. So those are actually the eraser holes. So I'm going to fix this by just, this is another cheat, but I'm going to do another layer. I'm going to fill this one with white and I'm going to smoosh those together and turn this back onto multiply. And there's one layer here. Oh, I know what that's from. Oh, shoot. Yeah, that little green line, I didn't mean for it to be there. That was the very first diagonal. And when I pushed the horizon line down, I also pushed that down. So I'd have to back up a bunch to get there. But let's see if I can do what I was getting at. So let's say this is kind of a cardboardy box. So I'm going to drag this on here and oh, no, did the same thing, huh? All right, well, we'll just do it in a couple chunks here. So the other, the paint cans that's on the top layer is actually going to sit on top of this. So I can actually, why is it a different color? There we go. This, I'm just trying to fix my mistake. So I'm just drawing, and all the lines don't matter because I have those in that other layer. So let's do this. Okay, so now I've got a new container. Yeah, that is weird. Okay, let me, oh boy. Where's my paint? Okay. Okay. Okay, again, I'm coloring all over this because it doesn't matter. Because when I turn that other layer on, since it's on top and multiplied, all the lines are actually coming from there. And this is a bad brush to be using because it's not opaque. Okay, hopefully this side will work a little better. Oh no, because I, yeah, her. So let me show you what I'm talking about. When I turn that back on, there's my ink layer. And again, I didn't mean for this stupid line to get here. So I've got to go in there and erase it carefully and patch all that up because I was just being too hasty. Bad me. All right. I'm going to be done here in a second. Let's see if we can do one more thing is these the cans. I think here I might just make a hand selection. So get back into my lower inking layer. And because it's it's the other ones on top of this. I don't have to be. One more try. Yeah, no. I got to go freehand selection. Freehand. Okay. Ah. All right. So with this freehand selection, if you start drawing, you can lift up your pencil and just tap dots along this path, because there's a lot of this that's almost a straight line segment. And sometimes this is a little faster. And especially here, this is a whole line. So I can just click down at the bottom, click over to this corner, click over to that corner, and back up to the top. So it's really just that front curve that I had to worry about. And now I'm going to paint into this selection. So I'm going to get my paintbrush, and I'll get a big old airbrush. And I have to decide where my lighting's coming from, but I'll say it's coming from the right side. And I'll just pick a gray for the can. And so that means that there's going to be a big core coming down here. And I've got my drawing assist on, which is helping me draw straight lines. And so that core is going to kind of come down, and it's going to get lighter and lighter. And then I'm going to shrink it down a little bit and just do the edge where it kind of returns. So something like that. And then same over here. I'm going to get a big old brush and just do this coming around to that core shadow. And maybe I'll go and change the color a little bit to the next. And I'll do kind of just a slight hit of a darker here and here. And then because it's in this box, the box itself is going to be kind of blocking a little bit of the light. So it's going to get darker as it goes down. But if you remember, let me draw over here. Technically, what's happening is that should be touching right here and right here. That's the can is going to be touching there. So those shouldn't have as much shadow. And the shadow might kind of be something more along this lines. So everything down below there is going to be darker coming up. No, fell asleep. Okay. And so I might come in here, clear this. And with this even darker, maybe this one, I'll draw just a little hint. It's almost like following the curve along. Something like that. And now that kind of helps ground it in the box. And then same with the inside of the box, I'll paint those these little corners. Beep, beep. And here this is just 3 selection, or 4 actually. Go back to my paint, and I'll pick this color just by tapping and holding on it. And then I'll click on the color wheel and darken it up just a little bit by moving this down. And now I'll airbrush in there. And it should get darker as it goes down. And then maybe turn the drawing assist. Let's do the same thing, and we'll go lighter now. And I'll get a big, nice fat brush and turn my assist on. And it's a little too fat. Lighten it up. And so all the top edges, I think I could get away with just doing the same color. Oops, went too far. And maybe even this turning edge. And then here I could also just go one more step further. Lighten this up even more. Make sure I get a nice thin brush. And just do a little highlight running along that edge. Anyway, this is, you can see there's more work to do here, but actually let me do one last thing is, let's say these are empty cans. And this is kind of an important thing. So let's just go ahead and do it. And notice that this looks okay, but if I turn off my my top layer, I colored over some of the lines, but that duplicate layer is helping me kind of basically repair all that. So what I was going to do here is just the inside of this can, and the inside, I'm going to go freehand again. I'm just kind of, and the other nice thing about this is I can let go of this selection, zoom in further, move pan, and then continue to select. Whoops, there, I should have gotten a little closer. So here I got some little weirdness, but I can go back and fix that in a minute. Okay, so I got this selected. If I hit the add button, I can go in and add more to that and hit add again. And I think that looks good. Now I'm going to go in paint with these same colors that I used, but I'm going to use the opposite direction. So this started with the core down the center going to the left, and now, oh, I'm in the wrong color. I think it was this one as I started with. So now you start with the core over here, and it's exactly the opposite because it's the inside. And then over here, it's probably going to get, it's going to be darker all over because it's inside the can. But the gradient will be the opposite of what's on the outside. And then I'm going to turn off my assist again, and then I'm going to kind of airbrush some darkness coming up from the bottom. Just a little bit to kind of give it some of that shadow effect. And that is a crate of paint cans. I'm going to stop here. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Hit the buttons below. Recording.